years ago, I did something really brave, or some would say really stupid. I ran for Congress. For years, I had existed safely behind the scenes in politics, as a fundraiser and as an organizer. But in my heart, I always wanted to run. The sitting congresswoman had been in my district since 1992. She had never lost a race, and no one had really even run against her in a Democratic primary. And in my mind, this was my way to make a difference, to disrupt the status quo. The polls, however, told a very different story. My pollster said that I was crazy, that there was no way that I could win. But I ran anyway, and in 2012, I became an upstart in the New York City congressional race. Female representation in Congress has greatly improved. 20 years ago, only 12% of senators in the United States are women, but today this number has risen to 25%. Although we have made great strides in politics, we've still got a long way to go, and that reality is reflected acutely in the labor market, where only 20% of tech jobs are held by women, and less than 5% of Fortune 500 CEOs are female. Despite the progress, we must question why this disparity persists. In Reshma Saujani's 2016 TED Talk, she describes how she took on the world of politics and helped girls get involved with computer science, traditionally a male-dominated field. Teach Girls Bravery, Not Perfection, by Reshma Saujani. I swore I was going to win. I had the endorsement from the New York Times Daily News. The Wall Street Journal snapped pictures of me on Election Day, and CNBC called it one of the hottest races in the country. I raised money from everyone I knew. But on Election Day, the polls were right, and I only got 19% of the vote. The same papers that said I was a rising political star now said I wasted $1.3 million on 6,321 votes. Don't do the math. It was humiliating. Now, before you get the wrong idea, this is not a talk about the importance of failure, nor is it about leaning in. I tell you this story of how I ran for Congress because I was 33 years old, and that was the first time in my entire life that I had done something that was truly brave, where I did not worry about being perfect. And I am not alone. So many women tell me that they gravitate towards careers or positions that they know they're going to be great in, that they know they're going to be perfect in, and it's no wonder why. Most girls are taught to avoid failure and risk, to smile pretty, play it safe, get all A's. Boys, on the other hand, are taught to play rough, swing high, crawl to the top of the monkey bars, and then jump off, head first. And by the time they're adults, whether they're negotiating a raise or even asking someone out on a date, men are habituated to take risk after risk. They're rewarded for it. In other words, we're raising our girls to be brave, and we're raising our boys to be perfect. Some people worry about our federal deficit, but I worry about our bravery deficit, our economy, our society. We're just losing out because we're not teaching our girls to be brave. The bravery deficit is the reason why women are underrepresented in STEM, in C-suites, in boardrooms, in Congress, and pretty much everywhere you look. In the 1980s, psychologist Carol Dweck looked at how bright fifth graders handled an assignment that was too difficult for them. And what she found is that bright girls were quick to give up. The higher their IQ, the more likely they were to give up. Bright boys, on the other hand, found the difficult material to be a challenge. They found it energizing and were more likely to redouble their efforts. So, what's going on? At the 5th grade level, girls routinely outperform boys in every subject, including math and science. So, it's not a question of ability. The difference is in how boys and girls approach a challenge. And it doesn't just end in the 5th grade. An HP report found that men will apply to a job if they meet only 60% of the qualifications, but women will only apply if they meet 100% of the qualifications. 100%. Now, this study is usually invoked as evidence that women need a little more confidence, but I think that this is evidence that women have been socialized to aspire to perfection and are overly cautious. Even when we're ambitious and we're leaning in, that socialization of perfection has caused us to take fewer risks in our careers. So those 600,000 jobs that are open right now in computing and technology, women are being left behind. That means our economy is being left behind on all the innovations and problems women would solve if they were socialized to be brave instead of socialized to be perfect. In 2012, I started a company to teach girls to code. And what I found is that by teaching them to code, I had socialized them to be brave. Coding is an endless process of trial and error, trying to get the right command in the right place, with sometimes just a semicolon making the difference between success and failure. Code breaks and falls apart, and it often takes many, many tries until that magical moment when what you're trying to build comes to life. It requires perseverance, and it requires imperfection. We immediately see in our program our girls' fear of not getting it right, of not being perfect. Every Girls Who Code teacher tells me the same story. During the first lesson, a young girl will call her over and say she doesn't know what code to write. The teacher will look at her screen, and she'll see a blank text editor. If the teacher didn't know any better, she'd think that her student had just spent the past 20 minutes just staring at her screen. But if she presses undo a few times, she'll see that the student wrote code, but then deleted it. The student tried and she came close, but she didn't get it exactly right. So instead of showing all the progress she made, she'd rather show nothing at all. Perfection or bust. It turns out that our girls are really good at coding, but it's not enough just to teach them to code. My friend Lev Bree, who teaches Intro to Java at Columbia University, tells a story about his office hours with computer science students. The guys who are struggling with the assignment will come in and say, "Professor, there's something wrong with my code." The girls will come in and say, "Professor, there's something wrong with me." We have to begin to undo the socialization of perfection, and we have to combine it with a sisterhood that lets girls know that they are not alone, because trying harder is not going to fix a broken system. I cannot tell you how many women tell me, "I'm afraid to raise my hand. I'm afraid to ask a question because I don't want to be the only one who doesn't understand, the only one who's struggling." When we teach girls to be brave and we have a supportive network cheering them on, they will build incredible things. I see this every day. For instance, take 2 high school students who built a game called Tampon Run. Yes, Tampon Run, to take on the menstruation taboo and sexism in gaming. Or a Syrian refugee who dared show love for her new country by building an app to help Americans get to the polls. Or a 16-year-old girl who built an algorithm to help detect whether a cancer is benign or malignant, on the off chance of saving her daddy's life, because he has cancer. And these are just 3 examples of thousands of girls who have learned to keep trying, who have learned perseverance, and whether they become coders or the next Hillary Clinton or Beyonce, they will not defer their dreams. And those dreams have never been more important for our country, for the American economy, for any economy to grow. To truly innovate, we cannot leave behind half our population. We need to teach girls to be brave, and we need to do it now, in schools and early in their careers, when it has the most potential to impact their lives and the lives of others. We have to show them that they will be accepted and loved, not for being perfect, but for being courageous. So I need each of you to tell every young woman you know, your sister, your niece, your employee, your colleague, to be comfortable with imperfection. Because when we teach girls to be imperfect and we help them leverage it, we will build a movement of young women who are brave and who will build a better world for themselves and for each and every one of us. Thank you.